Brandon Johnson. I'm the head baseball coach at Etowah High School.
Okay. Coach, you've been out of coaching since you stepped down at Clay Chalkville in 2014. At Clay Chalkville, you compiled a 194 to 82 record overall and was very successful there. What about Etowah enticed you back into getting into coaching?
First off, Gadsden was my home. I graduated at Southside, and my wife and I had talked about the possibility of getting back into coaching, but we were looking to come back to Gadsden anyway, and I knew that I wasn't going to get back into coaching unless it was the right situation, and I wanted it to be somewhere where my kids were going to go to school, and that kind of all fit. And then I didn't think I would get back in unless I had already had a previous relationship, and I had that relationship with Coach Colgrove in the past. And because when you uproot your family and move your family, you're putting a lot of faith in those people as well. So it was the right fit for my family more than for me. But I was, I grew up. Etowah was such a special place, and I had been in that rivalry for a long time, being at Southside. So I knew it was a big time program, and it had a lot of possibilities. And it was a place. There weren't a lot of jobs that I would be interested in, but Etowah was definitely one of them.
Awesome. You're following the legendary Coach Foster here at Etowah. Those are some pretty big shoes to fill. Do you look at that as a big challenge or a tremendous opportunity for yourself?
I think it's an opportunity. I'll say this. Coach Foster was probably one of 3 or 4 people in my life that probably made me want to be a baseball coach. I also always appreciated how, even playing for a crosstown rival, he was always good to me as a kid in the summer, and I actually opened the field up to me and my dad when I was a freshman, going into my freshman year of college, and let me kind of practice here and train here, and so I always had a lot of admiration for him for that. As far as obviously, he has a great name here, but I have to come in, and even though I've had a lot of people that have influenced me in my career, and I've worked for some great people and learned from a lot of great people, that I still have to do what I'm going to do, and I have to be me. And we, it's each year. It doesn't really matter what happened last year. It doesn't have one impact at all on this year. And that's kind of the way we've got that I want to approach it, and that's the way I want our kids to approach it. We want to look at what's in front of us.
All right, Coach. Football and basketball set a pretty high standard around here this season. They've both been very successful. What do you think the key ingredients is to keep that momentum going, let it carry over into baseball?
Well, the key ingredient is good players, and luckily we've got some good players because that makes my job a lot easier. So for us and our this year, we have a great senior class. It's a large senior class. They're talented. There's a lot of pitching, and you very rarely hear coaches say that, but there's a lot of pitching, quality arms. So for us, one thing that we tried to tackle very early on, we had to change the way we practice. We didn't feel good when we started about the way we were preparing, and we had to change the way we were doing that. And we actually talked today that we go out and we're better than the other teams we win, but how can we beat the teams that are better than us? And the way you do that is details. You got to take care of details, and you got to be able to do the little things right to beat teams that are maybe as talented or maybe more talented than us.
You guys have 13 seniors, correct?
We do.
How's that helped transition you over into this? Have a lot of experience on the field.
Well, we talk a lot about leadership, and we have a saying around here that you can either complain about leadership or you can start training leaders, and we try to train our kids and teach them how to lead, and we try to give them leadership opportunities, and they've done a great job. And it's a tight senior group. They love each other. They're great, but we've told them we need them to lead the young guys so we can play next year and the next year. So it makes it a lot easier as a coach when you've got 13 seniors and they're good kids and they're good players. But it should be a bonus for us having those older guys and having that experience.
I've also read where you said you'd like to continue working with youth players, keep their interest in the game and develop their game. How vital do you think that is to building a successful program?
I don't think you can win without it. I mean, you look at the programs around here, you look at Southside, and you look at Etowah. Well, why? Is because of their youth programs. We are actually having a county or community area-wide coaching clinic, and we're inviting coaches and parents and anybody that wants to be here on March the 10th. And because I feel like as a leader in our baseball community, I feel like we owe our kids the best opportunity that we can give them. And I think sometimes I think sometimes baseball intimidates youth coaches, and if we can kind of give them the tools to make them successful, but I just think we owe it to those kids, because to be honest, if they don't know it by the time they get to me, they get cut, and that's devastating for me that a 12-year-old kid gets cut in the 7th grade and never plays again. But if they don't know A, B, and C, they never get a chance to go to what's next. So you can't win without. You might have good years, but you can't have a good program unless you're reloading through that youth program.
Coach, what do you like to do when you're at home and there's no coaching going on? Just what's your getaway?
I'd rather hunt and fish than eat. I love it. I've always loved it. I don't know why. My dad was always great. My dad was always around, and that was kind of our bonding time in the hunting and hunting camp. So that's always been a big part of my life, and now my kids, they love it too. But I like to just go. I like to hunt, fish, and play golf and whatever I can do outside. So.
Who was your biggest influence growing up? Could be a coach, a player, or even a family member.
My parents were great, and my mom and dad always made incredible sacrifices to make sure that, my sister and I always had what we needed. And, there's no telling how much money that my parents spent in gas and hotels and food, traveling around watching me play baseball. So they were definitely the biggest impact on me. But I was so blessed to play for some awesome coaches, and really when I say coaches, I had great college coaches, but I also remember guys like Jerry Hunt, that was my Little League coach growing up. A lot of people remember the name Jimmy Snow, who didn't have a kid playing, but he coached me when I was 14 years old. Ken Mama coached me as a teenager. He didn't have a kid involved, and those are special people that give up their time and volunteer, and again, those are the people that really made me want to coach.
Gotcha. If you could go learn for a full season under a coach at the next level, or maybe even in major leagues, who would that coach be and why?
That's a tough question. I'm a baseball fan. I like to listen, and I like to pick people's brains, and there's been so many great coaches. I love Coach Thompson at Auburn. Even though I'm an Alabama fan, I love Coach Thompson because he's got such a passion for the game. Coach Mingione, who's the head coach at Kentucky, is a good friend of mine, and he's played a big role. And I'll tell you, I always apologize to him. I've stole so much from Coach Shoup at UAB. I played against him when he was at Birmingham Southern and I was at Montevallo. So those guys, Jack Leggett at Clemson, I always said if I was hiring somebody, that Coach Shoup and Jack Leggett would be the first two people that I would call. But Coach Reisner, who I played for, was also so knowledgeable and was just had such a passion and drive for winning that but any of those guys, I'd be happy to sit in the dugout with them.
If you were not coaching baseball, what do you think you'd be doing for a career?
Gosh, I don't know. I guess I really don't know. I mean, I think people ask me. I don't think I've ever even thought about doing anything else.
I got you.
I tried to be a pro fisherman, but that didn't work out. So I don't know. So if I couldn't do baseball, I guess I don't know. I guess I'd be coaching. I'd be one of these volunteer coaches.
Do you ever still find yourself getting fired up in the dugout like you're still playing?
No, I'm pretty laid back guy. No, I love it. I just God, I wish I could still play. I'm just too fat and old to play. But baseball. Jimmy Snow, and going back to him, he told me one time. He said, baseball can be boring if you let it be boring. And I think our goal as a coach, and I think it's the same goal when I coach a youth team. I'm not going to let it be boring. I want it to be fast, and I want it to be. I think people that think baseball is boring, I just think they don't understand it. I don't think they understand all the moving parts are involved. And we had a conversation with that today with our kids. We want our baseball IQ to be high, and we want to understand that there's not one thing happening. There's 10 things happening. But yeah, I've probably settled down a little bit, because I tell the guys, I said, I even told them last night, I said, I've never yelled at you in a game, I'm not going to. And I said, I'm going to get you at practice. So that's kind of our philosophy. We try to make practice fast and high speed and intense, where the games are a little bit easier. But fun. I tell our guys every time, I said, stop and enjoy it. Look around. We played at Jacksonville the other day, and Jaron Wright hit a single to tie it, and it was a roar like you couldn't believe. This is an awesome opportunity that we have, and I tell our kids, man, it goes by so fast. Just enjoy the heck out of it.
You ever been tossed from a game for having a friendly conversation with an ump?
Never been tossed. Yeah, I've made a few exits, and I told somebody, I said, I'll never get thrown out again. Maybe my last year, I want to get thrown out where I can pay my fine in pennies just to make them mad. But No, I'm there. I'm not. I'm not gonna argue. I've learned over the years. I've got some really good friends that are umpires, and I joke around that I've learned to work those umpires. I just tell them good job and hope I get the next call. Yeah, I don't. I try not to argue anymore. I may ask, but I'm not gonna argue.
For the fine folks of Etowah that's never seen one of your coach teams, what should they expect from your players on the field this season?
Well, we tell our kids, this is what we talk about. We want them to be wowed. We want them to be wowed by our energy level. We want to create pressure. When those you watch these football offenses, and it's about creating that pressure on the defense, and we kind of want that same thing. Like, we lost the other night for the first time, and we looked back and we talked about it, and we said, there was never anything that created any pressure for the other team. So we want to play fast. We want to create. We want to capitalize on mistakes, and we want that energy, and we want that intensity. And sometimes that's tough over a 40-game season. And we played a doubleheader last night in Coleman, and it was a late night. And so that's sometimes playing. When we talk about playing one pitch at a time, that sounds easy, and it's really very difficult. But that's what we want. We want people to come, and we don't want them looking at us like we don't want to yell. We're not going to yell at the other team. We're not going to yell with umpires. It's about the guys in blue. That's all we care about, and that's what we want.
Awesome. Finally, Coach, tell us what you want these players to take away after their senior year, after their senior seasons, into their day-to-day lives. How can it help enhance what they're going to do for the rest of their lives?
Well, first off, I've coached for 17 years, and I've had some unbelievable baseball players, and I've never coached a guy that played in the major leagues. And I've had some guys, I've had 14 guys that have got drafted over my career, and we'll have some more of those guys, but they've all gone on to be leaders in their house and in their community and in their churches and all those things. So, developing leadership is a very, very important part for me. And I know every coach is going to say that, but we want to make sure that we're investing in those kids away from baseball. We want them to know that we love them. We want them to know that we're going to hold them accountable for what they do. But what we want is we want them to, if they get an opportunity, if they want to go to college, we want them to go to college, whether that's a baseball scholarship, whether that's an academic scholarship, and that's an important piece of the puzzle that we feel like I got to be on the phone every day working for our kids to do that. And then, to be honest with you, and not that it's the most important thing, but boy, I'd like to leave here with the championship too.
Awesome.
And we want them to experience that.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
All right, man.